Downtown Atlanta, and I have to tell you, it's quite a lot. I've been to some pretty dark places. You know, I've travelled in South Africa on the farms of white farmers. I've slept on Skid Row, and I've been to most downtowns because downtown's where you can feel a place. But downtown Atlanta is pretty dark, and even where I'm standing, there's a pile of human feces here, and it's not good. I've just walked back from trying to get some food. On my way back, a homeless gentleman tried to snatch a cigarette from a white lady just outside her hotel, and she's doing that thing I've seen so many times where people are starting to cower. There's a certain movement with people that I recognize where people are moving quickly, or they're starting to cower because they know they are a target. So he's trying to snatch the cigarette from her or tell her she has to hand them over, and I protected her somewhat. I told him to leave her alone and stayed with her till he went away. Then again, another gentleman just round the corner being asked to hand over his wallet. When I say being asked, being told to hand over his stuff. So again, saying no, that's not going to happen, you need to keep walking. And just making it okay. What I see is a lot of people who are already afraid and willing to hand over anything to comply with any demands because they know they're a target here, and that's not a good thing for starters. Then the more general setting here in downtown, I see a lot of downtowns. I see what's happened. Places that were historically very poor. There's a large, poor, black kind of community here that were already poor before the pandemic. With the pandemic, the lockdown, and by say pandemic, I mean pandemic, but with the lockdowns, everything went south. So the same in Skid Row. Skid Row just meant that Skid Row spread outwards. Everything that was bad before got worse, and that's been true here. All of the kind of serving jobs or temporary jobs or shift jobs that were there before the pandemic got obliterated. So poor black people who were just surviving now can't. So their only way is to take. What you never want is a city where people have nothing to lose, because when people have nothing to lose, the only place to take it from is to take. And visitors to this place make very, very obvious target. It pains me to see them walking around with lanyards on from the conference. I mean, do you want to put a sign above your head that says "Take my stuff"? But why should they be afraid? I mean, you should be able to walk around a city. The other thing that's going on is a huge wipeout of the police department. That isn't, I don't think, the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is a huge, largely black population that is so impoverished, there's no other option. But because the police department here was wiped out, because of the way the Democrats are operating, because of defund the police, because of Warnock and his disrespect for police, the police department here was wiped out. They're running it around, in positive terms, 1,500. That's, I don't think, realistic. They should be at around 2,000. But police here are targets. And looking at this place, you would not want to be a police officer here, which is why so many retired or just left their jobs or quit. 115 in the last few months, just leaving their posts, because honestly, life is worth more than what they're risking. And the hard facts are that here there've been 900 murders in the last year, and there's an average of there's an average of 3 shootings a day here in Atlanta. So 3 shootings a day, 900 murders in the last 12 months here. This city now more dangerous than the streets of Chicago. But as with London, as with Chicago, as with other cities I know, the problem not only is the huge homicide rate, the problem is it's very contained. It's very contained within the impoverished black community. They're shooting and killing their own. There was a shooting in a club here just the other day. People filed out while the body was taken out, and then everyone piled back in to the club. In a normal situation, people would disperse, people would be shocked or afraid. They just waited for the body to be cleared out. and they were straight back in the club. The Atlanta downtown is run by gangs. People can hide from that all they want. It's not because of there being fewer police. It's not because there are fewer police walking the beat. The problem actually is an impoverished black population that's been so long ignored. It's killing itself, and everyone can just look the other way. In the high-end restaurants, polite people on $200,000 plus a year look the other way. And I guess that's my plea. As a foreigner, as an outsider, as an ordinary British woman who doesn't have really the right to an opinion here in America, but as someone who is here staying in downtown Atlanta, I have to ask you, Americans, I have to ask you, what are you doing if you're voting Democrat and you're voting Warnock? And if you are one of those lovely Americans that's moved out to the suburbs, to Woodstock, to Canton, to Alpharetta, to have a better life, to get away from all this, to make sure your children and dogs are safe, I totally get that. I would do the same with my family here. I wouldn't have my family here at all. I don't think people choose to be in downtown Atlanta with their families. But I need to ask you a question. Are you really going to vote Democrat whilst you're sat in your comfortable, nice, polite white town, when the reality here is that I just had to stop 2 incidents of basic crime on my way back from trying to get something to eat? Is it okay with your conscience that you vote blue because you think it's the right thing to do, when this place is now, I mean, there's something of 1300s Tudor England about this, right? In the time before we knew how civilized society should behave. Can you really vote blue when you know you had to run away to somewhere safer to try and raise your kids safely because you had the choice to do that? And I also ask you, and I implore the news media, come to downtown Atlanta with me. Come, let me show you the real issues here, please. Because you're sat in your studios, and it's upsetting because journalistic standards are so poor. But it's upsetting because you're sat in the studios and you think the issues of Atlanta about whether Herschel Walker paid a woman to have an abortion or not. And I get the hypocrisy. I get why that's a great talking point. I get why you don't even have to sweat or take off your studio powder to just regurgitate those arguments day after day. But please God, come to Atlanta downtown and let me show you what you should really be talking about. Because it's impoverished black people killing each other because they're literally trying to survive. And I need people to vote for something else. I need you to vote for Herschel Walker. I need you to vote for people that do believe in trying to make people's lives better, in trying to deliver jobs to people, in trying to stop this inflationary madness, in trying to have police forces that feel pride to go to work in the day. I need some of that reality, and I feel kind of desperate because I'm just this one voice and I'm not even an American. But the truth is here waiting to be told on the streets of downtown Atlanta, and it's pretty brutal. And I'll stay here if any other journalists will come and tell people the truth about what's going on.